India, whose real name is Bharat, has the 7th most clay in the world, and probably the largest population on Earth with over 1.4 billion people. This makes India one of the world's largest democracies. India is strategically located across the important trade route from Europe to East Asia. Just how important? Well, look at this oil trade chart to Asia. Basically, all the oil going to Asia has to pass by India, which is why the US has been making efforts to rope India into an alliance. The clay of India is diverse and varied, ranging from the Himalayan mountain range in the north to the tropical sandy clay in the south. The Himalayas, which form India's northern border, are home to some of the highest peaks in the world. The mountain range also serves as a barrier that protects the northern regions of India from cold winds of Central Asia, as well as invaders. The northern part of India is a vast and fertile plain, known as the Indo-Gangetic Plain, which is one of the most densely populated regions in the world. The plain is fed by the Ganges, the Brahmaputra, and Indus rivers, which provide water for irrigation and the growth of a ton of food. The southern part of India is characterized by big flat clay known as the Deccan Plateau. The plateau is comprised of rock from the Fire Mountains and is rich in minerals such as iron, coal, and manganese. The western coast of India is known for its long stretches of sandy beaches, and the eastern coast is known for its delta and mangrove forests. India also has several islands, including the Andaman and Nicobar Islands in the Bay of Bengal and the Lakshadweep Islands in the Arabian Sea. Indian culture is a rich tapestry of traditions, customs, and practices that have been shaped by a diverse array of influences over the course of thousands of years. Not to mention Bollywood. That's not to say Bollywood doesn't come up with some iconically funny moments. India Ball is the second largest English-speaking country ball, mainly as a second language. Hindi is a national language. India also has a total of 22 official languages, 121 languages, and 270 mother tongues. Earnest attempts have been made to instill a spirit of nationhood in such a varied population, but tensions between the neighboring groups have remained and at times have resulted in outbreaks of violence. Hinduism is the dominant religion in India, with 79.8% of the population practicing Hinduism. But there are also significant populations of Muslims, Christians, Sikhs, Buddhists, and Jains. Each of these religions has its own set of beliefs, practices, and festivals. Cows are sacred for Hindus. Cows play an important role in Hindu mythology and are associated with many deities. India has a long history of art and architecture, dating back to the Indus Valley civilization. India's modern history was plagued by the colonization by the British East India Company in the 18th and 19th centuries, following the fall of the Mughals. The East India Company had established trading posts and forts along the coast of India, and gradually gained control over large parts of the country. The British government later took control of India from the East India Company and established direct rule over the colony. Do like and subscribe if you wish to find out more about India's secret past. India was freed when the British Empire decided to give up control of their colony after continued non-violent civil disobedience led by Mahatma Gandhi, as well as political negotiations led by Jawaharlal Nehru, who would become the first Prime Minister of India. India's main rival lives in the northwest and is Pakistan. The border is known for its disputes and conflicts, particularly over the region of Kashmir. The subcontinent was partitioned along religious lines: India with a majority of Hindus and Pakistan with a majority of Muslims. The British, who still had not learnt their lesson about arbitrarily drawing lines to create borders, and the people caught on the wrong side had to move across the line. This saw 10 million people moving across the border and up to 1 million deaths as a result of communal violence.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
At the time of partition, Jammu and Kashmir, which had a predominantly Muslim population, was ruled by a Hindu king. Maharaja Hari Singh. As India and Pakistan were being created, the ruler of Jammu and Kashmir was given the option to join either country or remain independent. The Maharaja initially hesitated, but eventually signed the instrument of accession, joining India in October 1947. However, Pakistan claimed that the Maharaja was being coerced and that because Jammu and Kashmir had a majority Muslim population, it should have become part of Pakistan. This led to the First Indo-Pakistan War in 1947 to 1948, which ended in a United Nations overseen ceasefire. In 1948, Mahatma Gandhi was assassinated by Nathuram Godse, who blamed him for the partition of India, although it wasn't really his fault. At the same time, India was integrating the entire bunch of princely states that were not directly ruled by the British. These princely states were ruled by hereditary monarchs. However, under the British colonial system, the British government had overall control of India's foreign and defense policy. Vallabhbhai Patel, who was India's first Home Minister, was given the task of integrating the princely states. Patel was able to use a combination of persuasion, negotiation, and force to achieve this goal. However, some of the princely states such as Hyderabad and Junagadh initially refused to accede to India, which promptly led to the invasion. On January 26, 1950, India adopted its constitution and became a federal republic. As a result of British rule, India's government inherited many influences from the British. The president is elected by an electoral college and serves as the ceremonial head of state, just like the King of Great Britain. The Prime Minister is appointed by the President and is the leader of the majority party or coalition in the Lok Sabha. The Indian Parliament consists of two houses, which is similar to the British Westminster system. Nehru was Prime Minister to 1964, and during his rule he adopted a socialist-style economy with strong centralized planning inspired by the Soviet Union. The first of the 5-year plans was implemented in 1951. This period of India was also known as the License Raj, after the many licenses business needed to operate. It lasted to 1991 and was rather inefficient, as evidenced by India's growth after the economy was liberalized. Today, India's economy is the 5th largest in the world by nominal GDP. In 1961, India looked around its borders and found that certain areas were still held by colonists. Previously, the French part of India, also known as Pondicherry, was returned in 1954. Despite India's attempts to get Portugal to return the territories they held, Portugal was not willing to give it back. India had enough and launched a surprise attack on Goa. Although India was condemned for using force, the major powers did not support Portugal militarily, and they eventually surrendered. India also shares a border with its other rival, China, in the northeast. The border has been a source of tension in recent years, with disputes over the Himalayan region. Both countries went to war over the border in 1962, which saw China win a decisive victory and take over control of this area. Because of its beef with Pakistan and China, India has the 4th largest military in the world, with over 1.4 million active personnel. In 1965, India goes to war with Pakistan over Kashmir again, after provocations from Pakistan. This time, India was winning when the UN called for a ceasefire again. The very next year, Indira Gandhi, Nehru's daughter, and becomes Prime Minister. Fun fact, Indira Gandhi is in no way related to this Gandhi. Her surname comes from her husband Feroz Gandhi, who is not related to him as well. India also has an ambitious space program, which was founded in 1969 with the launch of its first satellite, Aryabhat. Since then, India has become one of the leading spacefaring nations in the world, with notable achievements, including their successful Mars orbital mission, known as Mangalyaan. It is the 4th space agency to reach Mars after Roscosmos, NASA, and the European Space Agency. It is also the first Asian nation to reach the Martian orbit and the first nation in the world to do so on its first attempt. In 1971, India and Pakistan went to war again, this time over East Pakistan, now known as Bangladesh. In short, East Pakistan wanted autonomy, but the Pakistan military started a crackdown. India aided the Bengalis, which led to Pakistan launching a surprise attack on Indian airfields and resulted in India responding by clobbering them. Long story short, despite the US trying to intimidate India by sending a carrier group with USS Enterprise to the Bay of Bengal, Bangladesh got their independence from Pakistan after 90,000 Pakistani troops surrendered and when the USSR sent their own fleet to counter the US fleet. This led to damaged relations between India and the US and better relations with the Soviet Union. In 1974, India started its first nuclear test. Also in this period, Indira Gandhi decided to become a dictator and started a period of emergency. Just like her pal in Germany, many opposition leaders were arrested and jailed, the press was censored, and there was a forced sterilization program. In 1975, India invaded Sikkim to depose the pro-independence monarchy. Sikkim had been a protectorate of India at the time, and the monarch wanted to hold a referendum to push for independence. India stopped that by marching troops in and installing a pro-Indian leader which petitioned for India to annex it. Luckily, a government was defeated in the 1977 elections, otherwise India might have just become another dictatorship. Anyway, after the opposition got elected, they did such a horrible job that Indira got re-elected in 1980. She promptly returned to her dictatorial ways, this time targeting the Sikhs. She authorized Operation Blue Star, where the Indian army attacked the Golden Temple, the holiest site for the Sikhs, with tanks and artillery. She promptly got assassinated by her Sikh bodyguards in revenge. Her son, Rajiv Gandhi, came to power with the largest majority in Indian history. He initiated reforms to the Licensed Raj and liberalized the economy. His reign ended in a corruption scandal involving Bofors, with leaks revealing that senior government officials had taken bribes over defense contracts. He was assassinated by a suicide bomber from the Tamil Tigers. The BJP first came into power properly in 1998, but without a majority. Also in 1998, further nuclear tests resulted in the US sanctioning India. It also resulted in Pakistan testing their own nuclear weapons. In 1999, the two nuclear-armed states went to war over Kargil, which was in Jammu and Kashmir. The war lasted 3 months and was started when Pakistani troops infiltrated and tried to take over some mountain outposts. Since the 2000s, the Indian National Congress and the BJP have exchanged power several times. India is also home to several regional parties, which have significant influence and power in their respective states. These parties often form coalitions with the national parties to form the government at the centre. In recent years, the politics of India has been marked by a rise of right-wing populism and Hindu nationalism, which has led to increased tension and polarization in the country.
So I am a Hindu nationalist, so you can say yes, I am a Hindu nationalist because I am a born Hindu. I am a patriotic, so nothing is wrong in it.
India has a rapidly growing middle class and consumer market, which has led to increased domestic consumption and economic growth. However, the country also faces significant economic challenges such as high levels of poverty, inequality, and unemployment. Despite its rapid economic growth, there is still a large informal economy with high levels of income inequality and a lack of infrastructure and basic services in rural areas. The government of India has implemented a number of economic reforms in the recent years to encourage foreign investment and private enterprise with the goal of boosting economic growth and development. However, the implementation of these policies has been uneven and their effectiveness is still debated. And so, that's the summary of India. It does not cover everything about India, so friends from India may wish to comment about the stuff I got wrong or missed out. I plan on making more videos about different country balls, so do subscribe if you want to see the summary of other countries or explore a country more in depth.